Welcome back to the Tradesman Channel, everybody. The last time out we were working on some chisels for a batch that have to get shipped out this week. So we put those annealing. This is actually the next day, believe it or not, working on videos 2 days in a row. Crazy. So they are annealing in our bin of perlite. They're probably ready to be worked. So what the annealing does for me in terms of working it, you have the benefit of spreading the carbon back throughout the steel, getting everything stabilized really well. But it also adds the benefit of softening that steel up so it's a lot easier to tool, it's a lot easier to grind. And then afterwards we still have to normalize and all that good stuff, even with the annealing. But while that's doing that, before we get to grinding, I want to finish forging out this draw knife that has to go as well. And then we'll get that annealing for tomorrow night. That way I kind of keep the process rolling a little bit rather than immediately starting to grind on those chisels. And then another night of just trying to forge out the rest of that draw knife, which I don't have much left to go on it. It's kind of, I'm wasting processes, and it makes it so things take longer than they should. So anyway, we're going to fire up the forge. We're going to draw out the reins on the draw knife, and that's pretty much all we're doing with that until it's annealed. And then we can take it over to the mini mill, get our fuller in there. We can get that ground out, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. As you get into forging stuff, you realize that your metal's not very cheap. So you try to optimize it as best as you can. Now I scrounge a lot of metal, whatever I can for myself. And that works out pretty well for me. So I'm looking for an 8-inch blade on these draw knives. Seems to be a nice optimal level for me anyway. Not everybody has the same. It all depends on what you're looking for. So what I'll do is I'll cut this off here. We'll still be left with a really nice piece of metal that can actually, believe it or not, be squeezed out and drawn out a little bit more to get a little bit of knife steel, which is nice. It's a small enough piece, it's a nice width, even with that little divot out of there, you can clean that up, and that can be part of a Damascus billet. Well, you get these little grinder marks in there. It's perfect for me to line up after the metal heats up, because once the metal heats up at forging temp, that white mark's pretty well gone, hard to see. So this takes all the guesswork out of it. So what we'll do, we'll take it on, I've got a butchering tool made for the forge press. We'll set that down and then we'll draw it out that way. So picture this squeezed down to about 5/8 and then drawn out, and that'll get us a perfect handle length for tangs for the handles and all that good stuff. So we're finishing forging this draw knife, like I said, but if you see here, so this is a tool I made to do the butchering into the draw knife handles. I think I'm using the right word. I always get my terms mixed up. So it's kind of nice. I make the mark with the grinder into the draw knife. This sets down. I'll put a spacer block on here, like 5/8 or a 1/2 inch, depending on what I feel like at the time. And that cuts it down. It makes the process so much smoother. So we have the other handle here, the other rein to draw out, and that's kind of what you get right now as we go. I kind of taper this down a little bit, makes it easier, it's less grinding. These right here take longer to make than anything else that I make in this shop. Even the knives don't take as long as this does. And with the knives, I'm doing a bunch of Damascus and stuff like that. So for these, what takes so long, you're making two handles, you're setting two handles. If you screw one up, you have to redo, you got to redo them. It's a pain in the ass. A lot of drawing out, a lot of forging. We're fullering in a groove in there, or we're putting a fuller in there just for aesthetics more than anything. And I enjoy making them, but it's kind of funny that this was the first tool that I hung my hat on and it takes the longest. Now, say I was using something like a power hammer versus the forge press, these would go a lot faster, but we are years away from putting a power hammer in this shop. Probably 3 or 4, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. I may start trying to save up for one. That would be fun. Press and hammers, they're just good at different things. But anyway, I'm going to fire the forge back up. I had to take a little break because our youngest broke her arm tonight, right above her left wrist. So she tripped, fell, landed on it just right. So we've been at the emergency room for a couple hours tonight. But she's doing all right, no surgery or anything like that. But Monday she'll get to go for her cast. But anyway, got to get back after it. Now that we have our draw knife rough forged out, we've got an annealing. We can go to these, and believe it or not, I put these in over 24 hours ago. They're actually still a little bit warm, which is fantastic. So to anneal properly, somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I want to say it's like a 70-degree drop per hour to actually anneal properly. I could be wrong on that, I might be getting it confused with normalizing, but yeah, we'll just drop everything. Nothing to see here. So we're going to start grinding these down, get this forge scale off of here. Now the forge scale on these, if you're running your 2x72 grinder, the forge scale eats belts much faster than bare clean metal does. So what we're going to use is a 36 grit ceramic flat disc. Now, I get these at Hazard Fraught. To be quite honest with you, you go through so many of them that I'm not going to spend big money on them. I'll spend good money on my abrasive belts because that's where I really need the quality to shine through. But for this stuff, I'm just working it. I do the same thing with my 4.5-inch grinding disc or my cutoff wheels. You go through so many of them. Now I bought like the DeWalt ones over the years and the couple different ones, and honestly these seem to last better for me than anything else that I've used. They're much thinner than a lot of them, but I cut a lot of metal. I go through them, I mean for 12 bucks you get 20 wheels and use them quite a long time. So for consumables, don't be afraid to use the Hazard Fraught. Now a lot of people get hung up on where's it made, where it's made. Well, unfortunately in the global economy that we live in these days, most of the stuff's made overseas. That's just the way it is. But that's why we're taking this stuff and we're making products right here at home that we can kind of get out there. It's neat to see in this world we're living in that so much of the hand forged stuff is making such a big comeback because people are really willing to pay a little bit extra for good quality stuff, and they take a little bit pride in that stuff being made close to home, which to me is kind of neat. I don't know. I just like that kind of thing. But anyway, enough of my yakking. We're going to throw this on the grinder. We're going to start cleaning these up. I'll probably put it in time lapse just because who wants to sit here for an hour and watch me take scale off of stuff. So we're also going to do a little bit of rough shaping around the tangs with this to get it started. Then we're going to keep going. So stay tuned. All right, folks, we're going to call it a night. So we're in a good position to start again in the morning. We've got our draw knife annealing. I've got as much scale as I can get off of those chisels. They're in the water bucket. They'll sit there fine overnight. So tomorrow we're going to start out. We're just going to get these on the 2x72 belt grinder, start getting them worked down. Now, I'm not stamping the maker's mark in anymore. This will be the first batch of stuff that we are actually going to go high-tech and fancy with the laser CNC that was provided to us by Ortur. So we're going to be trying that out. I've already tried it out etching metal. It actually does a good job. So we're going to etch our metal, our maker's mark. I've designed a new one. I think it looks kind of nice. We'll see where it goes. But so the draw knife, though, we will stamp it because I want to make sure that the gentleman getting the draw knife and one of the chisels does have a matching set. But anyway, we're trying to get back to the swing of regular videos. You guys know how it is with me. It takes me a little bit. So these short videos, what's going on, hanging out in the shop is kind of nice to do because it gets me back into the swing of speaking to the camera, editing, all that good stuff, which I enjoy all of it. So that kind of helps. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you on the next one.